Yeah, it's a Friday. And if this was a morning radio show for the 90s, we'd be doing bad sound effects from bad weather and then just going, whoa! But we're not. It's Anytime with Ken and Alden. I'm Ken, that's Alden, and we're good Whittle boys. Hey, buddy.
I'm alive. We made it. We made it. And you're so right about that, by the way. Having done morning drive in South Florida, in the Miami market, yeah, it would have just been like, call in with your best hurricane story or tweet us your best photo and we'll give you tickets to Joe Bonamassa at the Hard Rock Live. Or someone.
Do you like Joe Satriani? We got tickets for Joe Satriani. Did you fuck at a hurricane? Let us know.
Stevie Van Zandt is in studio in the third hour.
Yeah.
Not the rest of the band, just Stevie Van
Zandt. But hey, seriously, we are glad you're all right. But we do know Hurricane Milton has proven to be, unfortunately, deadly, with some lives lost, property damage, flooding, crazy times, and you were there in its path, Alden, and that's why we're so happy to be here. But so, yeah, we'll start with what Michael McCarcel was asking in chat. How you doing?
Yes, thank you, Michael. Hope my family's okay. I can report we are okay. All my relatives, a few different sects of the family are in different parts of Florida, and we're all good. A few broken trees. Lost power for about 17-ish hours. My sister lives close by, so we were able to still meet up with them even during the powerless period and eat some food and, with a gas grill and things outside and just chill. But it is scary. This is probably the first time I can say to start the conversation that I've been scared about a hurricane in a long time, because you get desensitized here, probably in the way that Californians do to earthquakes.
Talk about it all the time. Yeah, someone, a 4.0, like what do you 5.0? Nah, we're good. 6.0, maybe I'll put my shoes on. But it gets serious fast, and you don't know. I always say, even in 3.2, you're sitting there going, I don't have a Richter scale in me. What could this be? So I feel you. Sometimes the joking or how you cope out there. But yeah, this is this was something. I can feel it. I can feel it in you. So
yeah, I mean, there was tears being shed, that now already iconic, in a sad way, video of the meteorologist crying on the news.
Right.
And the fact that it so quickly became, I think it topped out at the 5th worst one ever, at least reported. And it was bad for an already damaged and visibly shaken and hurt Tampa Bay area. It was, everybody was just waiting for Katrina level destruction there. Sure. And whether it reached that is up to the experts, I guess, but it was, there were a couple, I would say, fortunate turns, if you can even call them that. Decreasing to a 3 around the landfall, and the surge doing a reverse surge and things like that. Like, we keep getting lucky, and we got very lucky in this area. And I had told Ken during the week, I was like, if we got power, we'll do the show and we'll talk about everything that was happening. But yeah, it was definitely the first time that I was like, oh, this is like really potentially bad. And I'm inland, I'm north of Orlando, I'm more central state. And we were supposed to only get, I think a 1 by the time it came over us. But it's like, you never know. And yeah, dangerous.
It's still a hurricane. 1 to 5. Again, same with the earthquake. Like, if it could, a 3.5 could be really shallow and do some damage too. So I feel you. Was it what was specifically kind of tipping the meter in terms of a little fear setting in? Was it the size, the record-setting nature of it coming right at you? Probably not the first time that something's come right at you in terms of a hurricane or someone on Twitter. But what turned for you?
I think, and you're right about that. Like, it wasn't the first. I mean, Katrina passed through here on its way to Louisiana when I was a kid, and then Wilma came right behind Katrina. And Katrina obviously it is what it is. It's this iconic, devastating tragedy in history. Wilma, while not that, took our power for 2 weeks and everything. So I'll always remember that childhood fear. And it was the first time that I thought, like, oh, like 2 weeks. It's so sad how quickly capitalism became the core of what I'm saying, where it was like, oh God, if this becomes Wilma, like when I was a kid, that'll be 2 weeks, without work, and that'll be 2 weeks without pay. And then I started to spiral into those thoughts, and then fear and anger start to coalesce. There's movies about that. I don't know. And then you would look online and see like some of the stuff we're going to talk about some of the conspiratorial bullshit. And then you're like, oh, people don't even care. So then it starts to get bleak. And yeah, it was just a whole mess. And then I think it was that meteorologist crying and saying like, I never thought I'd see this. Where I was just like, it's already sad seeing an older man cry in any context. It hurts. It hurts.
Yeah. People check it in chat. Molly David is here. Happy Friday, friends. We get too much damage from the storm. We'll talk about that. I get to see Alex and Molly in almost a week's time. Excited for that. Yeah, no, I feel you. And look, I think the coverage can cause some what you're talking about. I think you need to have the coverage, but I was watching the interview with one of the Bears. I don't remember if it was the mayor of Tampa, but the one who was just like, if you don't leave, you're going to die. And that's probably some sort of truth, or probably what needs to be said to get people to move. I could even say from a tiny public safety sample of like sometimes going, hey, those fire alarms, I need you to get your ass up now. Like, get out now. It's going to be, so I get it, but I think that definitely got to feel some hysteria. I don't mean that in a bad way, just where you're like, what is happening?
And that was, Mayor of Tampa, former police chief of that area, I believe. And there's controversies there because there are about 6,000 people incarcerated there in Tampa, and they were all working cleanup from Helene for $1, or whatever it is that they work out with them. And then were they being evacuated? Like, we still don't have that answer, I don't think. And it was like, it's a political mess, it's a societal mess, it's a science mess, it's all those things together. It's not good. And then, who is not that it's exclusively a Florida problem, obviously not. I mean, look at these other states that have been affected. I mean, look at the, being a wrestling fan, I've been seeing what a lot of the wrestlers from North Carolina have been doing and the relief funds and everything that they've been promoting and some of the photos, and it's just insane. But you look at the leadership too, and it's like, we're going to talk about this, so I'll bring it up now, but it's like, you got DeSantis as the governor, who is during this 5th worst ever cataclysmic level crisis, could have been 10 times worse than it was. And his objective is, I'm not going to answer the phone to Kamala Harris because I'm upset. I don't like her. I don't want to answer the phone to the woman who's going to tell me about the science. But then we're supposed to like trust him. We're supposed to like follow what he's doing. And he's like, it's like the people that are always talking about, country. It's about country. It's about country. And it's like, okay, sure it is.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to talk about him and his. He didn't wear the white cleanup boots this time. Good for him. It is past Labor Day, but he was interesting in the sense of like he at least was honest with the help they were getting, right, which I think was valuable. But he wasn't the only one. A lot of people, even Brian Kemp in Georgia, like, no. Yeah, the federal government's here helping. Yeah, stop that. Stop the lie about the $750 the only payment. All those kind of things I think were being helpful. But he was really frustrated.
Even like with Trump, like, where is she? And then they were like, she was there today. Yeah. Like there was,
Yeah. And so at least DeSantis is on that, but he was frustrated because moving this quickly into a climate change conversation, of which I will say I'm not a climate scientist. We do know some. They're around. You can go watch, Bill Nye the Science Guy. He's on CNN. We'll talk about Bill Nye. But DeSantis was frustrating me this morning because he's a climate change denier in the most casual of ways, which is problematic because then the casual people I know, in terms of like casually aware of this, it's easier for them to deny it. And this is nothing new. We get these all the time. We've always got these. It's like, yeah, that's absolutely true. But the Gulf of Mexico is the warmest it's ever been. This is a conversation I had about that devastating Hawaii fire a couple years ago with a family member. Well, it wasn't climate change. A wire sparked it. But unnaturally strong winds pushed it to a devastating level in seconds.
Yeah,
that's the problem, and so
that was frustrating too. Where it's like, we can find like what started it, but how it spread and the conditions of the woods and of the environments or in Hawaii of their environment, like people don't understand basic concepts like correlation and causality, number one. But then, yeah, moving it into the science of climate change is like, yeah, neither of us are climate scientists, but it's like when you have scientists putting it in simple terms, terms like I think it was 2 years ago, it might have actually been Bill Nye that said 9 of the 10 hottest years have been in the last 10. And
yeah,
it's like, I don't understand. Because a lot of the times it's like, how do we talk to people, right? Like, how do we simplify things down?
yeah. How do we communicate? Yeah.
I don't know how much simpler we get than where we've gotten. Like, my generation, we had An Inconvenient Truth pretty young, and we watched it. We were fucking scared. We got it. Like, we understood this. My entire life, I'll be 29 in a couple months. My entire life, I've understood that my entire conscious life, I should say. I don't think I understood anything really before like 6. But my entire conscious life, I've known at least some kiddie version of we're ruining the polar bear environment, that type of stuff. And there are adults like
Cooper says we had the Simpsons movie, for God's sakes. I never thought about the Simpsons movie as a climate change movie, but yeah,
you're so right.
I just was there for Spider Pig on my love of the Simpsons, but yes.
Yeah, the Simpsons movie, which honestly, quick aside about the Simpsons movie, saw that in theaters. Rarely have I laughed as hard as Homer and Bart saying, "The treasure of I'm a wiener." And that's just,
I love that
classic.
Anyways, yeah. So, but I like what you're saying too. If your generation and younger can't escape it, you can't escape the conversation. For my generation and above, you know, Gore's movie comes out, and we were all, you know, if you were on a certain side, you're all making fun of it. You were trained. You were trained to know the statement "green on the outside means red on the inside." So it became almost a thing of national pride to not believe. I don't think your generation is burdened by that. Thank God.
No, by national pride.
You're burdened by the results.
Yeah, we're not burdened by national pride.
But there's always hope, and that could lead to something.
This even started to confuse me, though, what you're talking about in middle school, high school. And it's like, look, if there's a secret knapsack family, big oil branch of your family tree that you want to reveal now, go right ahead. But and if they want to cut in for the show and help produce, maybe I'll compromise my morality. But it was like, even as like teenagers, I remember thinking like, if we understand this, I understand maybe why big oil and why these billionaires and millionaires don't want to, because they're in. But I never understood why, like, you know, my buddy Carlos's dad goes to the same high school I do. I see him all the time. I'm at his house all the time. I don't understand why he doesn't. Like, you're not getting anything, buddy. You get nothing. Like, I never understood the middle class denier is the most fascinating. They're up there with like the undecided voter for like mythozoological creatures that I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I wish I had the answers. I wish I was smarter for that. It's to jump over to the transgender conversation about like how does their existence affect you in any way? Please explain. Please explain why your existence here in buttfuck suburbs is affected by anyone else, including this fight for life, the right to life. You know, this transgender person just trying to exist. How does that affect you? And there is no answer. It's just coded. It's just built into them, right? Yeah. That's why I say the green on the outside, red on the inside was, oh, you care about the environment? What are you, a communist? What are you, a socialist? This is America, by God. Like it's frustratingly simple in its stupidity.
Yeah, well, you know, her father was a Marxist professor, Ken. And so that's why FEMA must be the woke hurricane Marxist machines that. My favorite version of that, by the way, since that's something else that we'll touch on, is obviously the just morally repugnant, basically blood libel theories and conspiracies that get thrown around by people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. But my favorite subversion of that is the one that's based on where the red states are, where it's like, have you noticed that all the red states are the ones that it's like, it's like, yeah, have you noticed that all the blue states get fucking blizzards? Like, what are you saying here? Like, it's like, yeah, buddy.
And
okay.
and
that's a map.
And because we're in this new era of dumb, as explained by Mark Maron so wonderfully in his last special, a bit I saw him work out several times at the Comedy Store. This new kind of stupid about, oh, what are you, a doctor? What are you, a scientist? Her going crazy on essentially the HARP theory gone wild, which is this array, collection of arrays in the Alaska wilderness that people believe is part of the control the weather scenario. Something I researched extensively over the summer for work on a project I was doing for my job. And it's so just silly. It's silly. And Hurricane Katrina is the focal point of this theory of it went online and Katrina suddenly turned left. And to your point of like the record setting things, like we're breaking records from last week, not 20 to 100 years ago, right? We're breaking records from, and that started happening there. And so, of course, they're going to focus on this stupid theory as opposed to the actual truth that Bill Nye's been telling them for years. They just don't want to listen. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. Michael McCarsel's comment here, the weird disdain for expert advice. That's what kills me. And that is something that is distinctly Trumpian, where what used to be something that like, this was in the idealized version of America that maybe at one time existed, but the dangerous. You don't want to give in to the dangerous side of nostalgia of accepting that there was an America that didn't exist. Caveats. But it's like we used to have like, oh wow, it's so respectable to have a field, whatever the field is / trade. Yeah. Like it's so respectable to just like have a dude or a woman or a person that's just like all in on this thing, and we go to them. Like whole sitcom like structures and casts were built around our guest stars are people in the town / community that all do have a thing or something that they do. The doctor character, whatever it is. And it's like the Trumpian era of the idea, the pivot of like the GOP being like, well, we should have a businessman. That was a lot of people's starting point. We need to run America like a business.
A lot of my family.
Then you could point out to them like, well, what about the 6 bankruptcies? What about the defrauding cases? What about this? And it doesn't add up for them. But then if you told them, oh, I'm taking you to the plumber for your doctor's appointment, they would look at you like you were insane. But they don't realize that those are the same. They don't realize that is the same logical track of stupidity.
Yeah, no, and that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene, an elected official, one of many, putting this theory out there. And it's just so, I mean, do you think they don't control the weather? And what I would say, there's enough weird truths. Conspiracies are fueled by the normal person's reaction of, oh, okay, right? That's the dangerous slope. Cloud seeding. You can talk about Dubai. You can talk about build mountains and seed clouds and all these things. And there's effects of that. So you can go. So there's enough like, oh, I talked about the first big project I worked on at my job was Hitler escaping to South America, right? And there's obviously enough truth to that because we know that did happen for some former Nazis. We know even before that, German immigrants were heading down there. This is like 50 to 100 years before. So there's enough in the story of, well, a tunnel. Well, there was a plane. A pilot said he did that. Oh, there was a submarine. Oh, but that popped up. There's enough like, oh, I don't know, that you suddenly find yourself way down that rabbit hole. And you don't then look for the facts. And then when the debunks come, you're so far gone that you're like, but what are you hiding? And that's the thing that's getting me about this climate thing right now with these hurricanes.
Yeah, and it's like, look, we're naturally inquisitive creatures. We are stimulated by mystery. That's why mystery is one of our oldest and most celebrated genres. That's why it endures, and we love to reinvent it. And when things are unsolved, like I believe Melissa McCarthy is producing, maybe starring in like a Jean-Benet Ramsey adaptation, something like that. There's like things like that. Yeah, it'll always tickle a part of our brains of like, oh, we don't fully understand it. And even then, there are things about science in the world that we don't fully understand. But like weirdos on the far right love to take that and twist it as like, well, you can't explain that, so all science falls apart. And it's like, no, the business of saying we don't have the answer yet and we're working on it is science. Like that is what we are doing. We are working on it right now.
Extra Cheddar says there's legitimacy to second opinions and question things, but thinking better than 99% of the time than someone who's an expert is baffling. Yeah, I mean, and science is the art of continuing to investigate it.
Scientific method.
Yeah, and that's when sometimes you're like, the science changes, our ideas change, our thoughts change, and yeah, unfortunately, so much is, going back to the question of gender identity and well, there's only two. Is there? Because I was thinking the other day, I used to walk with my my book. I used to hold my book up like this, or a Bible, walk into Sunday school, and my mom goes, "Ooh, don't hold it like that. That's how girls hold it. You got to hold it like this, right?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Where did that come from?"
Yeah.
And
then people tell you
that's
gender's
a
not
construct.
created. Yeah. Then they're
That's
like,
a construct.
no, it's a fact. It's like, no, the stuff that my mom saw in the neighborhood is definitely a construct. Like that's another thing that Bill Nye has talked about. And he's actually a great example for this. We should have booked Bill Nye for this show.
Let's book
Bill Nye. He did his classic series, obviously, and then he did his Netflix series. And the Netflix series addresses sex and gender in an updated version of his original talk on it. And he addresses the fact that we have different information now. It's a different time now. He's different now. Like, it's like all these things that it's like, it comes down to humility. Humility will save lives in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I like that.
And America struggles with that. I mean, this is a nation entirely built on hubris in a lot of ways. Kingsport Cal says his mom told him he'd go to hell for listening to Kiss. Well,
I mean, that's true.
Satan's service.
That's true.
Cal.
That's true. I'm
going to hell too.
I still.
Yeah, it's and then earlier, Coop brought up a comment that said the same dad that told me I couldn't listen to the Chicks anymore because they disrespected the president has a "Let's Go Brandon" shirt. Make that make sense. Make it make sense.
Just good branding. It's just good branding.
It's awful. And it's frustrating, and it's like it makes me feel like I felt this already with COVID when it came to like DeSantis and people like that and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, as far as I'm concerned, DeSantis should be charged with negligent homicide for every Florida COVID death. And we don't live in that world. We don't have a Hammurabi justice code where we can go take his hands. But it's like it's the impunity that really freaks me out. And like 5 people in the chat are going to be like, Alden said impunity. That's one of his words. Yes, it is. And this is why.
Is that an Alden word? I didn't know
it's an Alden word. Yeah. There are words that people track that I say all the time. But, it's not my fault that they keep coming up in situations.
I only have one. It's hubris. I love the word hubris.
It's a great word. And it's already come up in this conversation because we're Americans. Yeah, we're Americans. And then here's Shroomies here, works in environmental science, probably just pulling his hair out at all of this. Right. Yeah, it's brutal. And it frustrates me that they will utterly get away with it, like on the political level too. It's like, does censuring in Congress mean anything? Not really. But it's like, look at how they all jumped. They were all salivating to censure the only Palestinian in Congress for just being like, let us be free, please, and saying a catchphrase they don't like, that they don't understand. And they censored her immediately. But then you've got Jews control the weather from Taylor Greene and not nary a peep. You've got racist tweets being posted and then deleted. And you got Speaker Johnson being like, I mean, his language maybe not the best, but I don't, the context and they will bend over backwards and invent entirely new standards. That way, not a single ignorant, stupid. I was gonna say something really mean. I don't want the channel to get ignorant, stupid folk. Do not ever have to pay. It is entirely like it's like the mafia in like broad daylight. It's insane. Which I guess the mafia also was the mafia in broad daylight sometimes, but even broader daylight. Broader daylight and worse food. It's just it's the worst. It's absolutely the worst.
Yeah, frustrating times. Scary times, frustrating times. I was glued to it this week. Concerned about you, concerned about others I know out there, concerned about our pal Big Lou up in Jacksonville, though I knew that was going to be a little bit of an easier ride for him, and it was. But and then it's just the hysteria around it. It just it's its own kind of mess, and it's frustrating. Yeah, you can't. It's tough to talk about. Can't talk about with family.
No,
can't. They dodge it. They don't want those conversations.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is a much bigger conversation, but I wonder if, like, for some people that are, the category, we talk about them often here on this show, not just your family specifically, but like the category of like good folks, maybe motivated by fear. And that's like, I wonder if some of it is like, guilt. Like they don't want their
Oh, yeah.
twilight years to be marked by failure and destruction. And like, because they were sold the idea that their older years were about peace and relaxation.
Yeah. No, look, I was at a wedding last weekend, and the father of the bride gave this wonderfully warm speech about his daughter, but also worked in a wonderful amount of stuff about the importance of change, and basically in his wedding speech called out boomers. I don't know if there was anyone else in the family he was specifically speaking to, but it was pretty powerful. And it was not over the top. It was not out of place. It just was worked into the relationship he had with his daughter, and thanking her for a lot of changes she helped facilitate, but also honest about him trying to insert pragmatism into her theories and thoughts and passions. But it was wonderful. It's powerful because you don't see that often. Because you know what I'm dealing with is some head in the sand family members who I think kind of looking around, going, "Oh, this ain't good. Oh, this ain't good." But you know what? I'm just gonna watch cat videos, and it's frustrating when you're like, "This is what you're leaving me. Mm-hmm. This is the world you're content to leave me with." Yeah. And then I had the conversation too of the conversation of end. Well, you know, I know you don't want to hear this, but I think we're in the end times. I'm like, no, sure. You know what? Jesus will come back next week, maybe. But the problem with that is you're focusing on this prophecy, as if Melisandre has come down and spoken to Stannis. You're talking about this prophecy and washing your hands of the truth right in front of you. It's its own kind of conspiracy theory that isn't helping. This is what you're leaving us. You're going to die, and we're going to be like, well, you know, I guess we're just still waiting for the end times, as opposed to maybe trying to see how we can not have hurricanes spring up out of ultra warm waters in the Gulf with that kind of intensity that fast. Sure. That's been my week, and that's frustration.
That's been my week really sent it over to the top. We had a whole spectrum there from like great father of the bride speech all the way to and if Jesus was coming back.
And that started my week. That started my week was listening to that speech and then having to end it with, well, nothing you can do. It's the end times. There's nothing you can do.
And you know, and there's 1,000 conversations, things I've said 100 times, things that politicians like AOC have said. Like I think she gave a speech once that was, if Jesus Christ himself walked into this chamber, the Republicans would hate him. And it's like, I mean, she's right. As written, the canonical, not Legends EU Jesus, the canonical Jesus, they would really dislike.
Coop says it's been end time since 1969. It's been end time since like 1069. I almost was not registered for school in preschool, kindergarten, because the thought was, why bother? By 79, 80, Jesus is here. So I was almost not entered into the public school system.
Interesting. So it wasn't because of the bomb. It was
but that's part of it. But that is part of it, right?
That would be the bomb is a symptom of
the bomb, hostages, the Iran hostage situation, the gas crisis. Much like what's going on in Israel now, that's why there's this desire, and sometimes people deny it or get upset of this desire to rush to the defense of Israel because that's a check mark. A check on the box of the list for the end times.
If it's compromised, then it'll be
right.
Yeah.
So we got to go. In fact, we got to go to Petra and leave Bible tracts in the walls. So when the Jews finally realize that Jesus is Messiah and they rush to Petra to hide, and the 12,000, all that stuff, that starts pouring into the conversation, and that's why in the 70s end times prophecy is so vague. A pastor said this once. Zach Lambert on Twitter, who I follow, one of the only things I still look on X. It's all vague, so you can literally apply it to anything. Mm-hmm. My old buddy Matt, who went to seminary school, his final school paper, his thesis was on how the Book of Revelation is actually a coded letter to the Christians in Rome to talk about, it's almost Saw Gerrera sending a message, or Lutheran Rail sending a message to those oppressed in Rome, and so just to have those conversations this week, just to be like, well, you're right. I guess there's nothing we can do then. See you.
Meanwhile, you're like. And it's like, this is on top of everything else, all the other stresses and everything. And it's like, you got bills to pay, you got projects to work on, you're keeping track of the weather, you're all these things. And then it's like, here's a text from my parents talking about Revelation. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. Can I share something positive though?
Please.
Oddly positive that came out of this. I was telling you a little bit off air, but I saved it for air because we're professionals.
Oh yeah, save it for air.
The funny, unexpected thing about this is that my sister's kids, they are ages 14, 11, 8, and 5 now. And the 14-year-old, like, he's been around for a couple storms, but like, you know, when you're a kid age, like, you're just like kind of like, you know, play your Game Boy or read a book or whatever, and like, you know,
Sure.
you don't really understand. This is the first one that he was like conscious of, like, really like the news and like how devastating it could be, because he has his, this is the first storm he's had a cell phone for, and things like that. And I tell you, man, if there's ever a disaster over there, if the big one ever comes, I hope there's a teenager in your life that you can have around, because I get why they always write one of these teens into the disaster movies. He said some of the funniest shit he's ever said during this situation. Like, it started with him realizing he would have to interact with his little brothers.
Oh, horrible.
And he was like, yeah, Theo, I have to like talk to my brothers. I feel like I haven't talked to them in years.
This damn storm's gonna bring our family together.
So he started with that.
Stupid.
Then by like the 12-hour mark of not having power, he was like, Theo, I feel like we're gonna revert to being nomads. He goes, I feel like we're in the Paleolithic era. And I didn't even know he knew the word Paleolithic. So that was already a trip. But just like realizing in this moment, like, oh, it just keeps going. Because I remember being that same miserable yet funny 14-year-old. And it was nice to see him just like sit around and have to talk and laugh. And then I thought, wait a second, if I'm happy about the fact that he's unplugged and interacting, does that make me even older than I thought? And then I felt extra old. And it was just this weird moment of like, hey, we know we're okay. We're just waiting for the power to come back. But like, look at how like pathetic and dependent we are as a species. But also the kids, they are all right. They are still funny.
The kids are all right. Yeah. The kids are all right. We'll be talking about some kids later on who I think are all right, but it's the system around us that's the problem.
It's not what comes up later is not personal. Well, sometimes it is. Well, man, sometimes it's a little personal.
We'll get through it. But anyways, yeah, not to put in anyways on the hurricane. It's still ongoing. There's still flooding to deal with. There's still
season's not over.
I'm sure to discover. Yeah, the season's not over.
Season's not over. Season gets longer. I feel like we have a longer hurricane season than not at this point. At least here, the way we treat it here in Florida, it's like we're just constantly rolling, and there's storms, coming from Africa and like all this stuff, and who knows?
Yeah, no, they're tracking more, and we're still. Fire season seems a year round here in California, but we're in that period of time too. And we've been fortunate, knock on wood, the last couple of years in LA area, but not always the case. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts and being honest about the fear that could come through with this. When you just don't know, because you can't control the weather, especially when you're on your ground in the house. Maybe they can control it, but you can't control it when you're hiding out in your house or hotel or running on a crowded freeway to get away. That's a scary situation. Glad you got through it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, and the fear was interesting to reckon with, but I think it's good sometimes to get in touch with it, because it kind of, in a weird way, shakes you out of the numbness. Because like there's a thing that's like called posting through it, which like is a thing that our generation says a lot. Like, I was just posting through it. Like, you get broken up with, you're just posting, like you're just memeing.
That's sure. Oh, that's fascinating.
And it's like, but I did some of that for sure.
Well, it's so funny. I did see. I was like, I need to check on Alden. Let me see how he's doing. And you can say, see, he posted 17 hours ago. But I was like, he's all right. He's posted about Letterboxd or something. It's like, but then you're right. Yeah. I have to account for. He could be posting like this. Oh, my top 4 are.
I literally, because I would watch things on Letterboxd, and I tagged a couple of them hurricane viewing, just things I was watching, waiting for the power to go out, and. Yesterday.
See, Molly. I love Molly. I love Molly Damon. I'm imagining Alden standing out in the rain and wind going, I feel so alive. The fear management you're talking about, the fear confrontation is about, you should be saying that about bungee jumping, not a hurricane.
Yeah. Or like in Batman Begins, when he goes down into the cave and he lets the bats swarm him. That's how he conquers it. No, I was thinking, I was like, well, if we're going to evacuate, like, we're coming out of the state. And that's the other thing, is that Florida evacuation sucks because there's only up or down, and everyone's going up. It's not like, not saying, wow,
let's all go to
Louisiana,
Key
you have it
West.
so much better. Yeah, exactly. So it's like other states, I don't know what their evacuation situation would be for, maybe, tornadoes, whatever, but it's like you can generally go 4 directions, and so we would only have to
at
go
least
up.
3.
So I even started to panic in the back of my mind, like, where would we even go if we were getting out of the state? And then I was like, oh, fuck the rest of my family. I could go to the Damon's house. That's where I could go. I could stop at Alex. I could go.
I'll sleep in Hilo's bed. I'll sleep in Hilo's bed. I'll curl up. It's good. It's good.
I will house sit the house while they go do something cool.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, look, I've talked about it before that I have my nuclear missile heading towards LA escape route that will maybe buy me 20 minutes of life. But some of the shots that we were seeing last week reminded me of like Deep Impact, right, or Armageddon, where like freeways are just parking lots and you're trying to go where. Like it's scary. That's scary.
Yeah. Armageddon, a film built on the premise that we discussed earlier of going to people outside of a professional field to do a job. Like, but in movies it works.
In movies it works. Hey, look, if a group of like workers and plumbers and Ben Affleck could stop a hurricane, we'd send him straight in. If we could just launch a nuke into a hurricane, why can't that work?
Why can't
that man was president?
Yeah.
That man was president.
Yeah. Yep.
At the time we have left here, I mean, we got time, but we want to transition. And we acknowledge we're talking about the human condition. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about Bill Nye. You and I were talking about Bill Nye off air, about his start. Yes. Fascinating that I think a lot of people have forgotten that his start was on Almost Live, a sketch comedy show out of Seattle. Talking about all that. We can go to anywhere you want, Alden. But we do need to switch gears a little bit from us talking about trying to bring peace to the world to us bringing a little rage to the world with Hollywood A-lists as they stand now with the Hollywood Reporter. Your thoughts on this? I should have pulled the picture of the Hollywood Reporter article, but I think we all know it.
It's a great, actually, segue out of the hurricane, and I'll tell you why. Okay. It's because I had enough standard phone signal, before the house power came on to start to receive notifications. You and I had texted a little bit, even when my power was out. I would get a text through to you. Somebody will, oh, your text to Ken failed. I would send it again. I would go through like a crapshoot. Then at some point, I think out of habit, I just clicked the X button for the app formerly known as Twitter, and still in our souls as Twitter. And I saw people doing what we call a copy pasta, where the same thing just catches on. And it was of this Hollywood Reporter article of like, the A-listers who can and should be all this shit. And I saw the wonderful Molly Damon did it. Oh, she did it at trivia last night. No one got it. A harsh reminder that we're not all online, Molly.
That's Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Molly had done it. Alex did it. Kelly Knox had did it. There's a bunch of people in the Star Wars space and outside of it, just friends. And I was like, what the fuck is it? So I put it in the search bar, and then it took like an hour to produce a search with the phone signal. And I saw the Hollywood Reporter article, and then I started to get texts, and someone sent me the link. And then I couldn't load the article, but I loaded the headline, and I sent it to you. And I was like, I said something probably mean or whatever about worship and fuck these people and blah, 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 blah. And I just could not, when I finally saw it, I could not believe, I can't use the word bootlick because it's like, that's not how that works. But just the way that they have like, not they, Hollywood Reporter, but also the vague they. The way that they've like, they who control the weather and the influencers, they're influencing the weather. The way that they have so gleefully just like handed things over, similar to AI, is just like absolutely mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. The way that it was what really sent me over the edge was who will and should be done should. It blew my mind. So that's my starting point. It was just absolute just like befuddlement and wrath.
Befuddlement. Yeah. So, and I'm scrolling down. I'm on Hollywood Reporter's X page, and they post, God damn it, they post a lot of things. There was right on the same day they posted that article headline and everything, and there was another day of a British YouTuber who was arrested on like rape allegations and stuff, and that's part of my issue with what's going on too. With I'm all for smashing gates down. Man, a lot of people get in, and that's
it's
itself,
like, look,
problematic.
I have no issues with the idea of a modernized indie. Like the 90s, the indie revolution and filmmaking, things like that, or people getting in, or
even in
and like another art form we love and talk about often, professional wrestling. Like the idea in indie guys making noise until they get picked up is fundamental to the business. That's just, it's always been that way. And this is that in a way, but like to your point, you end up with like guys like that, or they make it all the way, like your Paul brothers and Mr. Beast and pieces of shit like that they should probably be arrested.
So that's that. So let's go. I want to always try to be reasoned over this because and Michael McCarthy's saying, hey, I'm busy with a new marriage in school, or a new engagement. Or Michael, did you finally get married? No, you did the big engagement.
Michael got married.
I know he at least got. I'm sorry, Detective McCarthy. I add details to your life that might not be there. Can I get the too long didn't read of this article? Hollywood Reporter had a photo with 30 influencers, TikTokers, YouTubers, and was basically saying, hey, this is the new Hollywood A-list. And I want to say right now, I didn't read the article, and it's important to read the articles. We in Force Center last week did a big deep dive on the articles last week that were controversial. Just kind of found the articles to be a little bit more reasoned, or at least surface level, as opposed to inflammatory beyond the headlines, which an editor can put down, not the writer. Anyways, all that to say, Rhett and Link are on here. I think I think that's a good. I think that's for what they're trying to accomplish. Rhett and Link are part of the crew that changed the game. I had a friend who produced for them for years. Good dudes. I want to make sure that's clear. At least as far as we know, I'm a good dude as far as you know. Who knows? We'll see what the next 5 years bring. But my point is, I get the reasoned approach is yes, things have changed. The paradigm has shifted, and a YouTube channel with 4 million subscribers is now weekly getting more views and hours and minutes watched than not a network television show. Those things still draw pretty good. A lot of people love Blue Bloods and CSI, blah, blah, blah.
911.
Then the specialty shows. Then all of your Succession thoughts, they're not getting 1/3 of the views of your average 4 million subscriber YouTube channel that's blowing up, right? So I think I understand that from a business standpoint. I understand someone like, Rhett and Link and Good Mythical Morning changed the game. I just think there's much like with AI, or much like with crypto, much like with a trend, you're just watching the undertow kind of start to undo a lot of things. And it goes in a lot of different directions. Scott Bromley, who I mentioned last week, a former producer of Star Wars show up there at Lucasfilm, he did a tweet, great follow-up tweet. He quote tweeted it and was like, yeah, great, until you tried to talk to one of them with a suggestion or an idea, and you discovered that 80% of them are difficult to work with, or you don't want to work with them. And that's true. I've discovered that. At Screen Junkies, a digital media company, Defy Media, which has its own problems, but we were part of the, hey, let's change the game. But you bring in someone who got famous in their room. You bring in someone who blew up in their room. And some might have musical theater background. Some might have done some improv. I'm not saying everyone doesn't have performance experience, but you bring them into set. They're late. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to treat the crew. We had this on the Schmodown, where a lot of the fan competitors, we had to kind of nip at them because we're shooting a promo and you're over there in goddamn fucking character yelling things off camera while we're trying to shoot a promo. Shut the fuck up. Like, those are the conversations we had with a lot of the fan competitors who came in late. I'm not very happy with the last few years of Schmodown because of that. It was like, you're not professional. You've never been on set.
And she confesses. And she confesses. Jesus. You know what? It's always those difficult women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Molly, her problem with the Schmodown is she always spoke her mind. She always just spoke her mind.
Yeah.
We don't like women competitors. Yeah.
Give us money.
But you know what I mean? And that's just a small level. And then I don't know. You take over, because then it starts to spiral out where I try to have this reasoned approach. Everyone on that page in that photo is doing well, is redefining what entertainment is. I'm not an old man screaming at clouds. I'm an old man going, the battle is over for what I used to fight for. The way I'd approach the business is done. I've either got to adjust or I'm dead. So I can't be bitter at them for that. But it's everything else that comes with it that I'm like, you don't want that. That's not.
I think you did
good.
I think you did a great job there of caveating. And I mean that seriously. You have to say all that to get into like the hate because it's like, it would be stupid, ignorant, and blatantly incorrect for us to say this has never worked out. Look at Abbott Elementary. Look at Quinta Brunson's success. It's Quinta Brunson who is become a beloved, legitimate television writer, showrunner, and star. Had those early Vine videos and things like that, where it's like, you know what, great. And every comic that you encounter at the clubs or on the road has a digital presence now because it's necessary. And like, we're not saying that this is not inevitable in some way. Because I've had like family members tell me like, well, why aren't you on TikTok? And I'm like, well, because of these reasons. And they're like, well, you can't just be mad at it. Like that's what it's. It's like you're simplifying it. That's not what I'm talking about. And even with these successes, with these successes, it's like we move into this territory though, where it's like, okay, well, is that an excuse then to throw everything together and just hope for more of those? Hope for a Quinta Brunson, and just lap up all the damage that sort of comes with it. Like it's very weird to me to this equation or lack thereof that they've come up with of like, let's empower everyone, deal with the fact that we'll probably create like 10 new Paul brothers in the hopes that maybe one of them is a decent person. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like that just seems like an ass backwards way to go about any sort of development. Meanwhile, it's like the fact that a lot of people that they'll be working with I don't want to use the phrase the right way, because we've seen things just happen, miracle things have always happened, like look at the 2006, 2007 adaptation of Hairspray, like full of stars. And where did they find Nikki Blonsky? Like singing in a store, like shit like that does happen. But it's like,
sure. Yeah. Ashton Kutcher moves to town one day.
Yeah. And like all these things can still happen, but it's like, you want to blend those things together. And to your point about like, your experience and even like, my experience too, like every time you've tried to bring someone in like that, it has never meshed. It doesn't make sense. I'm not saying it's not a skill set, but it's a different skill set. I'm not going to name this person, but it's like I had like a Make-A-Wish Foundation ambassador, influencer, model, millions of TikTok followers on all the LA red carpets, all this stuff, getting all the press junket jobs that you and I should be getting, quite frankly, and just like all this stuff.
I'm good. I don't want the press junket jobs.
Had her. You can write for someone else that gets all the press junket jobs and then never credits you. That's what you can do. And it's like,
no. My job is this. Hey, could you write some questions for her, because she wants to have some fun questions, and could you write some? Okay. Oh no, we're just gonna ask the same boring ones over and over. Like, don't worry. Yeah. That person's gonna be huge now. Don't worry about it.
But it's like I had this person on, and about 2 or 3 minutes into the recording, I was like, oh, this is really bad, like in my head. And I was like, I'm not going to release something that's really bad, especially because she was a pain in the ass to book, because there are whole managers and reps just for this bullshit now. So I paused the recording and was like, hey, let's talk. Let's just talk. And she was like, yeah, I don't I thought it would be easy, and I don't really know how to do this. And it's like, okay, well, I do. So what is why does your fake version, get so prioritized over everything else? And that's, it's just, there are stories to be told, a million stories from both of us, but it's like,
yeah. Get me drunk enough. I just had 7-Eleven coffee, so I'm not drunk enough to start naming names. No. Again, I want to bring the reason side of it. Like things change, styles change, and like the edit style, the jumping, the jump cut style, whatever, and that's going to change. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not here to say I'm in a battle. I've lost the battle. Like I know it. It's just what I'm talking about too is And I also want to highlight, first of all, responding, Jared regarding the Schmodown stuff says, all I'm saying is wouldn't have been like that. Hey, Jared, I would have trusted you. And also, I want to say there was a lot of fan competitors who came in who were great, who got it.
Well, I would like the record to show that Jared has never defeated me in trivia.
That's true. And then King Porkout's kind of joking, says, God forbid those fans had fun. But I want to address that seriously. Yeah, got it. I want someone to come to set and have fun. But when you're messing up the shoot process, part of the reason that whole thing ended is it became a weekend party where 40 people were out. A lot of them flew out. And they naturally want to hang out and party. They kept catching goddamn COVID. And the word came out, stop doing this. Stop it. Sunday night when we're done shooting, party like hell. Party for 14 hours. But you're all catching COVID. You're all bringing it because you're flying all parts of the country. And this is a professional shoot. You're affecting people's jobs and money. It happened a few times. It was very frustrating because they don't know the process. They're there to just have fun. The other flip side is a friend of mine was up for a job. This is at a point in time where he needed the job. Needed it. It was either this or it's going to Target. But he had a great job to produce a game show on a big network, a big digital media network that was throwing a ton of money down the drain. I want to be clear. That's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. But it was a game show hosted by like an esports streamer host who was very popular with amazing numbers that bigger than most game shows on network television. The show never made air. They tanked it. Everyone who had a job lost the job because the host sat there chewing gum, sat there not knowing what to do, and it just wasn't good. And that might work for his channel, but it doesn't translate. Then you're seeing what's going on with Amazon. No doubt you'd want to work with Mr. Beast. No doubt. Look at the numbers, right? So he's doing his show, and the lawsuits are rolling in because there was no standards when he shooted for himself on YouTube. But now you're putting 40 people, 50 people doing the real-life Squid Game, and now people are suing because of the conditions, and Amazon's in bed with this. That's the undertow them too I'm talking about. Where and Hollywood's always dirty, all right? You know, put your conspiracy. It's always been bad, but I'm in terms of making it run in a way that doesn't cost other people their jobs, is one of my concerns as well. About you're not hiring people who have learned how to do it.
I have a few responses to that. The first thing, if I can just have a moment to address Mr. Beast, not directly, but just like the whole concept of Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast. I don't want to say something that'll get the channel flagged or anything, but like he should absolutely be at the very least captured by like a Batman-esque figure. Like this guy, something about him, like like in Dark Knight when they went to China and they captured Mr. Lau. Like this, like he is like a C or D list villain, and I fear he will ascend to the B and A lists. That's the A list he's going to be on. Is the A list of like criminal psychos that should be in Arkham. Like I saw a clip of like Mr. Beast's casket challenge that if you can do 24 hours like buried alive with a camera in there and like some blankies and shit, and it's like this guy, and he's gonna sell like Lunchables now to kids or like whatever their knockoff Lunchable is,
Feastables
with like Logan Paul. You know, the guy who recorded in the Japanese suicide and then is a transphobe currently dealing with legal action because he's a piece of shit who spread misinformation. These are the people that are like speaking directly to your kids. It's like, I would absolutely support a Batman figure just beating the shit out of them. Like, it's like we're at that point. I even, like this is the whole other thing, but I texted Ken this week and was like, I want to seriously have real conversations, which, a small tease might be something that we do here with like scholars and like PhD candidates and different people who have expertise in like late stage capitalism and fascism and revolution and everything. Cause it's like, I genuinely feel like we're gearing up. Like this feels very much like failed state territory where it's like, we have like when they write about the fall of the American experiment, it'll be like, yeah, they had like vigilante masochists out there called Mr. Beast and KSI like burying people alive while people couldn't eat, while storms destroyed everything. Like It's like, it's
Well,
insane.
Alden, this will happen because, as you know, with end times prophecy, America's
Of
not really
course.
factored into it. Like that was one of the things
Of
we're always told too: is America is not in. You can trace everything, the bears, Russia, whatever. America
Yeah.
isn't factored into it, so we're gone, and there's nothing we can do to stop
This guy
it.
sucks.
Justine,
Aldenopolis. Yes.
I love
I
this.
saw it. I saw Megalopolis, by the way.
You saw Megalopolis?
It's
I haven't.
fascinating.
Last movie I saw was Beetlejuice. What was I going to say? Oh, Justine Bateman, who is, Jason Bateman's sister, but the first Bateman I knew from her Family Ties days, quote tweeted the Hollywood Reporter article yesterday. She said, "This isn't Hollywood. Hollywood was pretty amazing, but it's over. A new film business is brewing, but this isn't it. This below is a collection of infomercial salespeople. It's not Hollywood. They're too late and too off target for that." I thought that was an interesting take as well.
It is. And yeah, and after my Mr. Beast rant, yeah, like that's sort of what I wanted to get into, was like, it's not that these people, again, caveat, which I think she's articulating well there. It's like, it's not that there is no place. There's always been Billy Mays type figures in our world.
Billy Mays the third, his son is out there doing stuff now too.
Okay, I didn't realize there was a House Mays lineage. Yeah, like there will always be that. There will always be, or even outside of sales, there will always be Maury Poviches. Like we're not above that, and we've never been above that. And I don't.
Povich, sorry, you went to Maury Povich. Okay,
yeah, he's like a sensationalist.
Yeah, I mean, he helped. Yeah, no, he absolutely helped usher that in. I'd say way more powerful than Springer early on.
Yeah, but like what is Maury if not, cringe TikTok for your mom? Like that's what that is.
It was you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, and I think that, and even like, the stunt era of broadcast. Like you were there for some of it, and then I heard older guys telling me they wish that they could make me do stunts. That was something I heard all the time. Lawsuits ruined. They ruined the fucking. Used to be so fun. Yeah. We could have Alden running around, and now he's keeping track of his hours, and he's like, they really miss.
I really miss when we could exploit you and put you in a ball of flame in the middle of the road and see if anyone hits you, $10,000. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish when we could like duct tape you to a cardboard cutout of Monica Lewinsky, and then it's crazy shit.
I was an intern. They put me in an Alanis Morissette like wig in a red sweater and drove me around in a limo, asking people to chase me down to try to win tickets to Alanis Morissette at the Santa Barbara Bowl.
Ken, you should get lifetime tickets for the rest of Alanis's career for having had to do that. Maybe we'll send her this clip. Be like, Alanis, look what was done in your name. Like she's a religious prophet.
No one caught me, by the way. No one caught me.
That's good. Selling food in the street would have been at least semi-normal. That kind of stuff still happens. Who are you referring to here, Nikki, when you say you met someone in the Lego store? Billy Mays?
I think he's talking about me.
About Ken?
No, I don't know. I think he's talking about Jason Bateman. It's either Billy Mays, Billy Mays the third, or Jason Bateman.
Or Maury Povich. But it's like, so it's like all that to say, this will always exist, but it's like the idea that we can replace things frustrates me and freaks me out. And I've talked about it a bunch of times, but it's like, it was Jason Bateman. Thank you, Nikki. But it's like, that's the content with a hard C. We talked about that last week, maybe the week before. These are connected. Like they wanted you to start saying content and creator so they could lump it all in together. They wanted you to get used to the fact that they see this all as the same. Everyone wants to focus on what Scorsese said about Marvel, which really is already taken out of context. Like it was already blown out of proportion, but like that was just a piece of what he was saying about Content Machine and Rotten Tomatoes and all this stuff and the aggregates. And like all of this has been leading now to the fact that, not that I want to like cape and worship someone that I don't know, but I have already a little bit. It's like in the same fucking week that Daniel Day-Lewis, the world's greatest living actor comes out of retirement. Hollywood Reporter is running an article not just saying that these people run Hollywood, but that they should. It's the surrender. It's like, okay, well then at that point, ideologically, you are no longer the Hollywood Reporter in my eyes. Like, ideologically, you should just be called like the algorithm reporter or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
I
guys,
like that.
you are no longer a legacy trade. Whoever was up next for your slot, if it was fucking IndieWire or Slash Film, Variety, whoever it is, like, it's like they wanted it all to be the same so they could surrender it to these people who, it should be noted, are oftentimes not SAG, are not WGA, are not TAG, don't abide by any of that, so they can lump everything under a promotional contract that includes all these things. That way they can, you know, play bullshit games and get away with having who are essentially scabs in all but name right after the year we just went through. And it's
and,
like,
a
that's
flip
what
side
this
of that.
is.
Yeah, flip side of that. Also, I do love the image of Daniel Day-Lewis saying, "I drink your TikTok." The flip side of it, just so there's the full picture of it too. There was a lot of big agencies who started adding in influencers into like there's a SAG itself added like an influencer wing, which was equally as problematic and destructive to the actual working actors. Something felt in my home, where it's like it's the full picture of what you're talking about. It's like this is what we're switching to. Okay, and it's done.
And it's
to
like
money. It's
and
done.
part
to
of
make
it
money.
is like, yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis is back. Let's go. It's true. Look it up. Returning in a film written and directed by his son. Yeah. Oh yeah. Nikki brings up the Hibbard Star Wars article. Hell of a week for them. Yeah. Honestly, like man, it's frustrating. It's also frustrating because it's like and Nikki and I bemoan this all the time. Nikki, a screenwriter. Me, you know, went to broadcasting school and was a radio producer. You, multi-hyphenate, radio host, producer, comic, like all these things.
In a lot of arenas. I failed in a lot of arenas.
Wrestling manager. You didn't fail at that. You know, you played your role.
I did.
You know?
I did. And what
all
did I
of
get
these
for
things.
It? I can't stand up straight.
Your back hurts. Yeah. All these things. It's like, you hate to be like, why me? Why is my luxury industry not working? It's like, that's not really the point. It's just like, I fear that dreams that we had will no longer even be, I mean, they're not anymore viable dreams, but especially for the next generation, like, it's just sad. It's really sad to think that like this is going to be considered aspirational to kids.
It already is, man. Look, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but someone random on Threads or something posted like, Hawk to a Girl and Lieutenant Dan, the guy, the hero to emerge from Milton, are going to be millionaires, and you want me to explain to my kids that they need to go to college? Like, how am I going to do that? How?
That's the thing. And it's like some of these companies, like obviously, you know, what's her name? Haley Welch.
Yeah.
Ellie Welch.
Yeah.
You know, she's under the Paul Brothers umbrella. So it's like, I know where that money's coming from. But it's like, in a lot of these cases, it's like, they don't have money to pay any of us, any of your friends, any of my friends. They have money for fuck all nothing. But they suddenly find money for all these people that contribute nothing. And look, I'll pull back the curtain a little bit. I'll pull back the curtain a little bit without throwing any specific names or anything out there. It's like, I have been told by people that work for a huge company that they would have to pay their own way and pay their own hotel.
IBM
for not that one, for like red carpet affairs and stuff, but they will fly people. They'll fly these influencers literally cross country or even sometimes international for bullshit. So like, where's that money? Where is that money? And I've also been told that how do I word this in a not incriminating?
I'm staying silent here because I just love watching you walk this tightrope.
It's just like, here's an example. So influencers, when we were in the UK for an event recently, within the past calendar year, that couldn't ask a good question to save their fucking life, don't have to pay anything, get in, blah, 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 spotlight. Then you get smart people, present company, people in the comments. Nikki was there. You know, there's a press conference that happens, and not a single one of these people even raises their hands. and then we carry the press conference, and we're asking good, thoughtful questions to artists who are sitting there wanting to be asked artist questions. And that just gets turned into content for the people that were invited that didn't do anything to generate the answers. Right. And so we now, who are trained in things, whether that be broadcasting, writing, interviewing, acting, performing, dancing, whatever it is, are now subservient to the people that have cut you in line. So you are now waiting for the table scraps of the people that forced you out of your chair. And that is extremely, extremely frustrating. And sometimes in these relationships, and this did happen to me, sometimes you can't get an email response back about anything, even if it's just, let me interview this person for you, let me help you. But then if you interview somebody without their say so, then you get a reprimanding thing, which did happen to me once. I interviewed a filmmaker, and you need to tell us before you do that. Oh, okay. But what if I had done a silly little dance with them? Would that have been okay? That would have been probably promoted, right? That would have been fine, right? Yeah. It's like what I've realized is that is an unserious culture, and then on the outside, on the macro, even with the hurricane discussion we already had, it's a fucking unserious nation, and that's the problem.
Because it all flows back to January 6th. That's what I say.
You know what, man?
It all flows because how that happened, how this all happens, it's all connected. Everything you're talking about is connected to me. Where it, and it's hard not to remove personal bitterness from it. And I hear it in your voice because I know it because it's there, man.
Yes, it's there.
It's there because it's hard because this was our chosen field. I imagine those in other trades might have same frustrations or nepo babies in other areas. I don't know. When the boss's nephew takes over or something like that, I'm sure there's similar things. Or I heard this week of Lorne Michaels' longtime assistant's daughter got hired and as a cast member, and I was like, yeah, okay.
And
got it.
I will caveat even that, not specifically her. I mean, I hope she's great. I haven't seen. I don't know who it is, and I watched the premiere and I haven't watched the last two. I'll come back next week when Keaton and Billie Eilish are on. But it's like I want to also caveat where it's like sometimes with those nepo situations or whatever, if they back it up, fucking great. There are so many nepo babies that I love. There are so many.
No, it's natural.
You have the advantage in being seen.
Yes.
You still have to deliver.
Trust me. Baseball right now has a ton of second generation stars, and they're naturally predisposed to being amazing at the game. They also have had training facilities in their backyards that are on par with Major League Baseball training facilities since they were 3 and everything. So it kind of fuels itself. But I'm with you too. I generally don't worry about it too much. You just got to worry about yourself. But the point of all I'm saying is this article brought up that in me again. That's why I'm saying it. I've lost the battle. I'm not on TikTok every day. I don't want to be a TikTok guy. I recently came to the conclusion I don't have much more to say anymore. Because I don't want to tweet, post. Every thought I have is not worth anything to me anymore to put online. And so I'm watching everything kind of slowly fade away. So that's my own. So I got to separate that from any feelings I have as best I can on this article. But to watch it affect other people, to watch more people, like Justine Bateman said, you're all influence, you're commercial artists. This also is how the commercials went away. We don't have a lot of the commercial trade. By the way, a lot of actors and editors and filmmakers, directors making money off commercials, that's been cut in half. I don't know. I'm just throwing a number out there, but it's bad. This is our commercials now. These are commercial actors.
Yeah.
That's what these are.
Yeah, and it's like, and also, you're being harsh on yourself, as you often are when you say you don't have anything to say, because your art form is based in you having something to say. I think that you're just you're moving it to the stage instead of online, because online is a wasteland, which is sort of where I guess we've always headed.
There's been some great comments. King Spark Al, I still defend Tori Spelling, as you should. Chet Hanks, that's a great example. No one said anything about Bryce Dallas Howard. No, I love Bryce Dallas.
Bryce is great.
I really do.
Bryce is great. Look, man, Maya Hawke.
Mile Hawk is great. Yeah, no, but they're gonna get the opportunities.
Yeah.
Paul Hewson, aka Bono, his son, his band Inhaler is great. Love it. His daughter's doing good in acting. Ben Wellington says, Ken is a former SNL crew member. That particular program breaks NBC Universal's nepotism loss all the time. Oh yeah.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
It just what this one popped up into. I have no skin in the SNL game anymore. I just this person got hired and did a weekend update shot, and a lot of people were like, "It's genius! It's a bit for our generation." And other people were like, "Wow, they looked really uncomfortable on a live stage, like they've never done it before." Oh wait, they're a TikTok performer. Oh wait, and that's the only way it entered into my thing, and that's part of what I'm thinking about it, of someone who's maybe not as skilled. But then the other side right now, if you want to the SNL conversation, this cameo era has got to die. It drives me insane.
I know you. Yeah,
drives me insane.
Let me say one more thing.
Yeah,
let me say one more thing, and then we'll end on an SNL tangent. Because I did just want to add, on top of everything you're saying about the frustration, about the social media and the leaving and everything, and like it's all true, and I feel it, and the bitterness that is inside of us. I don't know if you'd agree with this, but you'll probably understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
I would say 80% of the bitterness doesn't come from the opportunities vanishing or anything like that. Like that's yes, but it's things are slipping away, and I didn't even get a chance to fail on my own merits. Let me fail. Like when I got laid off in 2022 from being my young iHeartRadio executive producer, blah, 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 with my little office and bullshit and blah, 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 blah. Part of like the mental toll of that was more, I've said this repeatedly, like to my mother and my sister and my friends, like it was like, I didn't even fail. I didn't even get it wrong. I didn't even crash. I didn't even like, just let me like, that would be easier to accept, but it was that they just decided like, it's not relevant anymore. And that was just like what do you
I empathize with that.
Just like let it. There's more honor in being like, I fucked it up. Like
but that's my thought is I had a chance. I paid, as how old I am. I paid for my first groundling class with a check. Like I had a chance in the old system, and I failed for a lot of my own reasons, not with skills, but with beliefs and mental issues and stuff like that. So I know what you're saying, where now you look around, and it's frustrating for me, like on stand-up, it's all in my hands. If I was to be a 14 clip a day stand-up person and grow my numbers, it might work, but I'm not. I'm choosing not to. So that's why I'm saying the battle is over for me in other ways, and I'm just going to carve a little niche out of the corner I can. But I had a lot of time from moving here in 99 to now starting my radio career in 94, 95 range. Yeah, I feel you on that, where now you don't even get that shot.
Yeah, and it's like, who knows what happens.
But look,
looking at the comments here, Molly had a good comment. It's interesting that big actors have PR people to help them figure out their public presence, but influencers are doing it all themselves, and it gets messy, especially if they're young. Yeah, and it's like, and no one sees that correlation. Like it's like,
well, I'll tell you where you're seeing it on a major level is Chapel Roan. I said this a month ago on Blathering after her first thing, where she has said nothing that I disagree with or nothing that I don't at least understand. I said a month ago on the Blathering, I hope she has a team around her. She's saying it in a very of her time and of her generation way, and it's only going to cause her more problems. And I think it already has. And I'm rooting for her on every level. The access to this versus a team is apparent, and I hope she gets it because I think everything. Because again, I want to be clear. Everything she said, I'm like, yep, got it, got what she means. Or I think 100%. I think I agree with her. 98% agree with her. But I just worry about that because it's the same kind of vibe. And
Chapel Roan, Chapel Roan is like the now patron saint, goddess, deity, whatever you want to say, Reverend Mother of everything that I have ranted about since Anytime started a year ago. Of you can clarify and clarify and clarify and hold their fucking hands till the cows come home. But if they choose ignorance, it will be ignorance. To the point where she, like, I had someone who I love be like, I just don't understand why she said both sides are the same. I'm like, well, that's not what she said. And they're like, well, But that's my well, in my opinion, I'm like, well, she clarified not once but twice. So that's three. Didn't throughout. We're at 3 total, 1, 2, 3 versions of her being like, this is what I'm saying. This is the difference. She fucking Schoolhouse Rocked you about an endorsement versus a vote and all this stuff. And not that we need to get into that, but it's like,
but my point is, she shouldn't have said it the way she said. You know, if she look at Gaga's early interviews, she doesn't have the poise right now, and it's because it's a generation that flips that lens around and just presses record. It's unfettered, and it's going to continue. It's not that she's wrong, 100% not that she's wrong, and I agree with what you're saying. I
don't think you think that. Yeah.
No, it's just like, I know how to say things on a show. If I choose to get a little mad, I'm choosing it. And I know the repercussions where Force Center's 11 years experience of surfing through issues in the right way, and other channels I see don't. And it's a difference between I've been on stage since here, or I've had people and she's been on stage for a long time. But you know what I mean? Like I went like this the first time. I was like, oh no, I know what you're doing. And,
I just think that it's a shame that is even a concern. Because it shouldn't be, because it puts the burden on the speaker to have to dance through illiteracy and ignorance and bad faith, and dilute what they're saying to the point where it's like, okay, so so what we're positing, not you, but what as a nation we're positing is that everyone must be debate Tim Walz. You must be hardcore everywhere except when it matters. When it matters, you must be dull, and you must not be Chappell Roan. You must not be their weird Tim Walz. We only want that in theory, but when the fire actually comes out, you know, like, Molly says here, just feel for the fire. Yeah, like Molly knows a thing or two about the internet. It's just like we want cool women talking about Star Wars, and we want opinionated people, and we want cool influencer people, except when they're opinionated, cool women talking about Star Wars, then we don't want it anymore. It's like Chappell Roan thing was like a speed run of like, wow, we love this person that's like bringing back a rock star and saying these things and everything. And then it was like, oh, we don't like her anymore. Why? Because she made me uncomfortable by being a rock star.
Yeah. No, like, I agree with that. I don't know if you 100% get what I'm saying. Where her canceling concerts is a problem to me. A night before when people have flown out, and you show no empathy for the fans that just spent their life savings to come out to see you because of mental health. That dilutes the mental health conversation for me, because you're not being a professional. And I was upset by that. Like, it was like the way she handled it, you need a team around you to handle that.
Yeah, and maybe you shouldn't have. I mean, look, it was a festival, and we can nitpick that a bunch. You're pulling out of the lineup. That sucks. But
the point is, you've chosen a career where you're supposed to miss Christmas. You're supposed to miss this. You are the entertainment for folks.
But is that the wrestling, like, you need to work hurt?
Look, Triple H wasn't
wrong. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying, is that in you? Is that Ken old school coming out?
It's a little old school, but that's where I was at Christmas Eve this year, performing for other people. That's the chosen thing. That's the deal. And I think I'm a little. That's all I'm saying is you could say it in a way that didn't intentionally destroy the goodwill with a bunch of people bought tickets, hotels, flights, and are now like, fuck. If you get sick, that's another thing. And that's my point is that I just want nothing. I don't disagree with her, and I think everything you're saying is right. But I think there's a little bit of a age difference of just like there's a way to do it. It's not political. It's just a way to say it better. And I just hope time, but she might not. And because I'm rooting for her. I'm rooting for her on every level. You know that.
Yeah,
I just danced to her at a wedding.
And I don't even think you're saying. I want to be clear. I'm not saying that you think these things. I'm saying that. The whole hubbub was exclusively, I think, at its core, you are our new precious thing.
Yeah.
And you rocked the boat.
But,
we don't.
Because trust me. There's dummies tearing her down for the reasons you're saying. That absolutely it's what I said on my show a month ago was like, she's not wrong. This is her first thing about people having access to her, and this because we watched the biggest one recently was Britney Spears in the 2000s. We cheered for her downfall as a society.
I mean, there was that young woman, I can't remember her name, and I apologize for that, but like the one who got killed at a signing, who was on The Voice and like all those things, and like
I mean, yes,
yeah, like
yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so that's I'm here to defend. It's just yeah. Maybe it's old school. Maybe it's old school, but
it could be both.
And you know, Buck O'Brien says mental health is the same as physical health. Yeah, absolutely it is. But that's part of the game to me. You're signing up for this, and I'm talking about celebrity status. You're talking. This is the job. This is the job.
And we've both been down that road. Like we've both been on air, depressed. And
I've been on air at midnight on New Year's Eve. I've been, and I'm not saying I'm
tiny
a hero.
version. Exactly. The tiny version of what she has. Yeah.
You are a constant. You have chosen the life of a constant. That's why Stevie Nicks said, I chose to give up a normal life for what I do. She said that years ago, and she was on SNL this week. And I understand the balance, but I just think we're redefining what it is. And Chaperone's going to be part of that. Mental health is important, so she should take 6 months off from touring. She should not tour. Fuck the Beatles stopped touring because of mental health reasons, quite frankly, and they couldn't hear themselves at concert. It's good. I just think there is a how to say it, how to act on set, how to be it versus a new paradigm.
And totally. And I will say, if you're bringing old schoolness to it, I will acknowledge for my part, I am bringing bitterness at fans to it. I absolutely own that. I am 2024 Alden has been defined by the fact that I've realized how much contempt I have for the entitled fan. But that is also not fair to everyone that was just like, I just like the songs and I bought a festival pass. That has nothing to do with them. But it's like, there's something I've been preaching about and it will continue to happen. We like you until you fucking suck because you did the one thing that we didn't like. Or said the one thing that we didn't
every
like.
generation throws a hero up the pop charts and then loves tearing him down. Yeah.
I mean, you know, there was a wise man once said, is the one thing they love more than a hero is to watch a hero fail. Absolutely. That's the Green Goblin and the Spider-Man. Someone's going to be like, you didn't get the line right, Alden. That's because I like the better Spider-Man movies.
I never remember quotes, which is why there was better down competitors than me.
Yeah.
This is my bottom. Sorry, my bottom line. She needs a competent PR team, and I don't know. I don't know if there's around her right now.
The Taika Waititi syndrome. 100%. Everyone was like, "Oh, I love Thor Ragnarok because of how irreverent and funny it is," and he said, "Cool, I will make another one of those." And everyone said, "You're a hack." And it was
and that's where you and I are in agreement on. You know, it's like, throw Filoni up and praise him, tear him down, and a lot of you don't even know the truth about him.
You don't know. Rebels is my favorite Star Wars. I hate this Mandoverse, and it's like, okay, so what? You just all right? It's the same level of writing. It's the same, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's end on this SNL thing because I didn't bring it up with you last week, and I should have. In about an hour and 20 minutes, I'm going to go see Saturday night. The film about the first broadcast, Jason Reitman's film. We had the presidential cast get unveiled, and we all knew that Maya Rudolph, who was a cast member, is returning now as Kamala Harris because she had been Kamala Harris before in other election cycles. Great, fine. Then it was, okay, well, Trump is James Austin Johnson now. Great, that's a cast member. So that's kind of evened out. And then it was fulfilling everybody. Bowen Yang as JD Vance. They sort of split the diff about celeb returns and returning cast and cast members, but it's for you. It's based on conversations we've had. It's not just this election cast. It's this election cast as a continuing of a problem that has built over the last 10, 15 years of
it has been
the actual cast member. Yeah, man. Yeah. Cause they were already doing it during, it's been already 12 years of Trump. So it's like, they've at least been doing it that long. It's like, open up your thoughts about it, about not real cast members. I don't want to say real, but like regulars and featured and repertory players having to sit around while like Dana Carvey Biden comes back and sort of the push and pull of that.
Look, it's the 50th season, so I'm not a liar. I enjoyed watching Maya Rudolph, Dana Carvey, and Andy Samberg on screen doing full-on sketches. Having Dana Carvey say live from New York, and I actually saw someone post, "Hey, this is Dana Carvey saying live from New York at Saturday night, this is why it's better than anyone who said it for the last 25 years or whatever. He knows how to, he's 100% right. Dana Carvey saying it was, you're about to watch something magic over the next 90 minutes. It was a powerful thing.
You mean like in terms of how he hits the line?
How to say it, right? It's like, it's that thing of like how to say live from New York at Saturday night. It's been done so bad, more bad than good over the years. And he's one of the best. I'm so glad someone pointed that out. So I'm not going to lie and say, oh, it wasn't kind of fun to see. And it's not just even the frustration of, man, you do all this, you go to the Groundlings, you go to UCB, you go to Second City, you go through all these auditions, you got your management team, you got all this stuff, you do your showcases, you get on the cast, and you can't break through because Jim Gaffigan's doing Tim Walz, who I love Gaffigan. I've done shows with him, champion sweetheart of a man.
And he's a great pick.
Great pick.
On a performing level, he's great at it, yeah.
But I was going to post, because I don't feel I have anything left to say, Alden, because I don't really care about my own opinions, and I don't care less about others sometimes.
I care about your opinion.
But like I was going to post on Threads, man, I really hope they get Rich Little to play George Bush, because this new guy, Dana Carvey's one, doesn't even sound like him. And I was going to put like SNL 86 Threads, because that was the point. You have a cast, and you now have these big, diverse casts, thank God. You know, the legendary 86, 87 on to like 1990 cast was like 7 white people. Like it got better.
Even into my childhood, they had Fred Armisen doing Obama. Like,
That
is not. That's not great.
And look, I grew up on Billy Crystal doing Sammy Davis Jr. and
also not great.
It's marvelous. It's a marvelous sketch. That's the point, man, is each cast found how to do it, and they found a way to make it work or not work, and they became stars. And there's a lot of bait, even to the A-list article, but I saw these think pieces about SNL doesn't turn out stars anymore. Well, of course not. Number one, there is the problem of what is a star, because not everyone's watching this show like it was only one thing on at 11:30 every night. Now it's...
Well, because the A-list, as we established in our previous topic, is elsewhere.
They've broken the paradigm now. It's like I watch SNL more the next day on clips if I watch it at all. And it's frustrating. I feel for the cast, because it's not the show's fault, and it's being, why has an SNL done it? It's not the show's fault. It's not the cast's fault. But also, if you're bringing in, it set me off this week, because Haley Joel Osment did a wonderful parody. I don't even know what it was on, but I saw it online of him as JD Vance going to buy a donut, right? It was wonderful. And someone said SNL should hire him to do this, not Bowen Yang. I don't have a give or take or thought too much either way on Bowen Yang's JD Vance. I'm just saying he should be allowed to do that. Bowen Yang should be allowed to do it and grow it and become that cast JD Vance, versus let's get these free agents and bring them in. Yeah. This is the Alec Baldwin thing of just bring them in, not even add him to the cast. Like I always said, just fucking add Alec Baldwin to the cast. Put him there. Why not?
If you're there that night, you should be in other sketches. Yeah.
You live in New York. You're there every week, Alec. Just come in on Tuesdays, read the script, come in on Saturday. It's like the 84, 85 season was free agent heavy. They brought in established people. Do that. It's just so it's beyond just surface level frustrating. It's the continued breaking of the system.
Right.
So that, now you are not going to have Saturday Night Live movie stars. They're going to be what Kate Middleton, who I love at best, being in other things until she can find a way to break out.
Oh, McKinnon
in films.
McKinnon.
Did I say Middleton?
Middleton. You know what? Her comedy chops not proven or disproven. So
she's at a great long form improv sketch called The Royals. It's going on. Kate McKinnon.
They are doing a lot of yes and right now in terms of what the future is. So that's fun.
Yeah, so it's not just simply old man grouchy at back in my day they did SNL like this. It's just it's all circular.
I get you. And honestly, it's a miracle that, I mean, it might be because of his legal trouble that James Austin Johnson is now Trump instead, who is a cast member. So it's like at least they've done that and given that back to them. So it's and it's like again, it's also the push and pull between quality of the performance and what you're talking about, which is growth of the brand and growth of the legacy and of cast members as artists. Because it's like nobody can tell me that who they've chosen isn't great. totally is great.
Yeah.
Kamala.
Oh yeah.
You know, her Kamala is great. Dana Carvey as Biden surprised the shit out of me. I never would have called that, and I thought, oh man, like he's making some really funny choices. The constantly, you know, the repeating of the. He'll start a sentence 3 times, and like it's a great bit. It's a great bit. And even Sandberg as Doug is like very, very funny. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like I can imagine a little bit if you're there and you've been there, especially for a few years. Maybe you worked your way up from featured to a main player, and then you're like kind of arms crossed, like, fuck, man, come on.
Because you got this, you know, you got a second to break through. You know, it's frustrating, and I don't know. I want to be clear. I'm not just old man at clouds. It's just, and this is how it is. We're in the cameo era, and then this is like you're right. I totally forgot. Like bringing Tina Fey back in is Palin at times after she left, and it's not. They had cameos in the old days, but it was like it also was like, oh shit, Aykroyd came back to do Bob Dole. Oh my god, like they got Aykroyd back in here.
We even had like De Niro as Mueller during the Mueller report saga.
Melissa McCarthy coming in and doing what's his name from the Trump Spicer, like. I get it, but it's frustrating that now it's such the norm that I saw that post of like, oh, they should just hire Haley Joel Osment. Like, that's not how it works. You dedicate your entire life to chasing SNL. You dedicate your entire life to it. It's a train you get on in LA or Chicago or New York or Toronto. It's a train the TikTok era, I don't care. You know, if you go become big on TikTok and they hire you and you fail or succeed, we'll see. But like
Chloe Fineman is a success in that regard.
Yeah,
of social media impressions.
Which one is she?
You would know Chloe Fineman if you saw her.
You would know her. To say
you would know her.
You can't tell Heidi Gardner, Chloe Fineman, Ashley Padilla. It's all the same.
This is a similar thing that like wrestling fans go through, where it's like we're trying to get mid-card guys over, and then like here comes The Rock, or even in like this. What we're discussing right now is what Marvel haters insist is happening, even though it's really not. Of like they're just relying on, or dare I say, even Star Wars. They're just relying on legacy characters. Where it's right. Okay, but what about this show that's coming out in December? That's all new characters. Well, it's Mandoverse, so that's legacy. But the Mandoverse has only been around for 5 years. Is that a legacy? But
that's a legacy.
Filoni, whatever.
Anyways, sorry. Thanks for letting me rant. It's apropos of nothing, but also of everything. I just I was intricately involved in that process. That's why I moved to LA, and I failed out of it. But I know a lot of people went on to succeed in it, and I know what they do. I know what it's a life's pursuit, and just frustrating. But it shows going for 50 years.
My relationship with SNL as a goal is that it was never my goal, but my whole high school thought it should be my goal. And so in my yearbook, it says Alden Diaz most likely to appear on Saturday Night Live.
Mine was most likely to host a late night talk show, which is not really
that's right. We have talked
anymore.
about this. Right.
Yeah. Well, look, but here's the thing, Alden. It's not too late for you to get out here to LA, sign up for the Groundlings. You can still do this. Outside of, think of Michael McKean and Leslie Jones, who was nearly 50, I think, when she was named to the cast. I'm done. My dream is done. So, Michael.
It doesn't have to be.
Michael McKean was hired as Michael McKean. It's like 46 or something when he started, but he was who he was. So you can get on out here. Get on out here. All right, crash on Nikki's couch. We'll go get some Del Taco.
I'm telling you, man. I've told you this. I will tease the audience. Ken has said. Ken jokes. I can get you a couple minutes if you come out and get you. I'm writing. I got documents. Okay. I got bits. I'm working every day on bits. I'm trying to put together a little something.
Go down to Orlando. Why did I say it like that? By the way, does your generation, your little Chaperone TikTok loving generation, do you understand the level of greatness that Dana Carvey is as a sketch player?
I do.
Do you sit around with Jared the Dark Jedi talking about it?
No,
you should be.
Because I have taste and he doesn't. But Jared does have taste. Jared is a song and dance man in the same way that I am. We're both theater kids and we'll always have that bond. Dana Carvey, I do understand why he's great. First of all, my generation did not hate The Master of Disguise. We loved The Master of Disguise. We acknowledge as grown-ups, we acknowledge perhaps not his finest hour, but funny as hell. And I believe there's a story that Dana Carvey found out that the Twin Towers had been hit while wearing the turtle costume. I think that
Yes.
lines up in terms of the
Yes.
shoot, which is just what an incredible pop culture fact. But no, Dana Carvey, very important when I was a kid. He wasn't in my cast, but he was someone that I understood was immensely funny. And then obviously finding out about Wayne's World, finding out about all these things. And then one of my crowning moments in high school was when Dana Carvey followed little Alden Diaz on Twitter. Dana Carvey followed me on Twitter in high school.
Okay.
And I would be like, oh my God, Dana.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. Okay, you make me, you and Jared feel good. Yeah, look, and look, like a lot of sketches at the time, there's some characters he would do that I don't think we do anymore, and I think Dana has said so as much on his podcast with Spade. Lyle, the effeminate heterosexual. I don't know if that worked, but it was very funny. It's one of my favorite.
He's a genius. Like I think he might be like maybe amongst comedians he's not underrated, but I think pop culturally, like the fact that he does not have a franchise like Austin Powers of his own.
That's the thing. And he and Myers maybe fell out and all this stuff, but and he comes off as the number 2 in that movie series, the Wayne's World stuff, in a way I think he is. And then he had some health issues and stuff going on. Yeah, and I just think pop culture kind of forgets him. I'm glad. That's why I am glad. And I think it was Jared said, bringing cast members back to do characters in SNL is a little different, especially for the 50th season, than going to chase the celebs. Again, nothing against Jim Gaffigan. I actually really love
That's true. Yeah, if you were there, that is its own category.
Yeah, I don't mind a walk on like that.
You came up, like that's cool, and the fact that it is 50, and the fact that it's like this, it's cool to see it's teaching people, right? Like here, like this will be my last thought, and then we'll wrap up. But
yeah.
In the way of like we talk about with like Mandalorian, like how cool is it that so many of the side characters are filled out with genre veterans that maybe never got their due. Like I think you can kind of teach young people like who Dana Carvey is with something like this, or you can teach a young person like with
that.
Which one?
No, I just would love Dana Carvey and
just like
the movie.
Shit, yeah. Could you imagine? Or I'm still waiting for Colbert to show up in Mandalorian because they already have Pasquazi and Amy Sedaris, and it's like that friend group.
An Exit 57 reunion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like an example. Like with this movie, like I have a huge crush on Ella Hunt, who was in Dickinson, and
who don't you have a crush on at this point?
Well, there are a lot of people, but
you're a thirsty boy.
Look, man, it's been a long fucking 3 years, man. It's been long. Not all of us can just like waltz into my office. Hey, I'm Ken Knapsack. I talk about Star Wars, and then some like amazing like witch just like comes out of a puff of smoke and is like, "Let's be a couple." That doesn't happen ever.
Grace hated me for my first 3 months at Collider.
Oh, what a burden to be hated, but that would just make me like her more.
She said she'll admit it. She thought I was an asshole.
But yeah, Colbert will be a senator from Stu John. Yes, exactly.
Love that.
Ella Hunt is playing Gilda Radner in this movie. And so her posting about Gilda Radner or Lamar Morris posting or Rachel Sennett posting, like talking about Rosie Schuster to the Gen Z crowd that has followed her comedies now. It's like, that's I would hope gonna work out for them. And especially in the 50th year of like, there will be people who are young, cool, Chapel Roan listening, pot smoking, young folk right now on TikTok who are going to be like, wow, dude, Lorne Michaels. What a fucking weird concept. But here we are.
There you go. Wait till you learn about Michaels and Hart. I want more people to see Dana Carvey's character, Head Wound Harry. Please, just more people watch that sketch.
I'm going to put it in the comments. Head wound
Harry. All right. We did talk long. I'm going to go do some golf.
Hell yeah. I'm going to go see a movie.
I am transitioning into a Florida Republican, apparently. But no, I'm going to go do some golf, relax, get some sun.
Be a Californian forever.
A lot of fun. Love talking with you, buddy. Even when we not butt heads, but just bring two sides, different discussion points. Glad you're okay. Glad your family's okay. Praying whatever that does and means for those who are out there still dealing with it. Of course, we'll do it again, huh? We'll do it again.
Indeed. We'll see y'all next week. Everybody, be kind. And go bully a climate denier.
Perfect. Love it. See you next time on Anytime.
Bye.